Hello there, and this one is called Rebirthing Yourself, and the background feels totally appropriate. So this morning, woke up well early, before 5, and went to sleep again, and when we woke up the second time, my partner told me about her dream, and it was about family. And it was one of those difficult dreams, and it was clearly the subconscious wanting to communicate some stuff to her, and that triggered a load of stuff in me. So part of the rebirthing process is when it reaches a point in your journey, because we're all on our own journeys, it reaches a point on your journey when your soul lets you know you're ready to do the most difficult work, and that's when you get the pain, back pain, knee pain, migraine, whatever pain it might happen to be. And when that happens, it's like, no, this isn't because I fell over, this is something else, this goes deeper. So touched on this already on the film Back Pain, so let's just go right into it. So the more we spoke, the more we revealed about what it was like to be little children in our families. And I'm not going to speak about hers because that's her journey and her story, but I'm going to speak a little bit about mine, just so you can pick it up. But I did also watch something called Z in the Beginning, which is a story of Zelda Fitzgerald and Scott Fitzgerald. And that was a real eye-opener, because the two of them, when they get married, they are triggering each other constantly and behaving really badly with each other, and it's all pretty horrible. So somehow that all feeds into my journey. So listening to my partner, I get thrown into mine, and I realise it goes way back before the satanic stuff. It goes back right to early childhood and the memories, and what I became aware of after a while of us sharing with each other, her memory, my memory, her memory, my memory. And this is what rebirthing yourself is all about. For those of us who have these stories, it's about really feeling what it is. So when a person has got physical pain with no organic origin, it's the repressed emotions being masked by the physical pain, and the way to break through is to feel the feelings, and that's what I've been doing. And eventually I realized that my heart, the heart of me as a child, is scorched. It's scorched, like all around the outside. That's how it feels. It's scorched because of the various things that happened. And so the very basic story is two petty tyrants, and the mother having the responsibility for the two boys at home, and her reading out the list of charges at the end of the day, and then the father administering the corporal punishment, the physical violence stuff. And that's how it began, but then it went further and it went deeper, and I had the memory come up, which I've had before, but I actually felt it. So when I was a baby, the first year of my life, I was in the pram in the plum orchard. So my experience, really, my earliest experiences of being a human is I feel the distress, I cry out, there is no response. I keep crying out, no response, and I give up. And I abandon myself to that situation, and I go into total numbness. And that certainly happened with me when I was being accused and judged. Before I got punished, I'd go into the numbness. It was always about the numbness, the shutting down, the loss of all feeling. And that's come up really clearly, because when my father died, I didn't feel all these feelings that people feel. I didn't. And when my mother died, I didn't feel all these feelings that people feel. I didn't. And while the higher self in me can realize that everything they did to bring us up as children, me and my brother, everything they did to bring us up, they did their best. And yet what it was either being punished, awaiting being punished, or complete numbness because I've shut down. And then I realised what it was, even when so my partner asked me this, but what about the good times? I described one of the good times to her. And I realised that in all of the good times, there was always this threat hanging over. It's perfectly appropriate because it could at any moment start raining. It's got that energy in the air. It's very humid. It's quite cold. It's very damp. It's very dark grey, the sky, and it could just start hammering down at any moment. So my childhood was either being punished, waiting for the punishment to happen, shutting down, feeling now my heart being like scorched. And when none of that was happening, it was waiting for the next outburst. Because my mother's way of treating us was to do everything we could to prevent my father from being triggered into another temper tantrum outburst. That was what her aim was all the time. Let's see if we can, let's caretake his temper so he doesn't explode at us all and bring us back into the hell realms. That was a constant message. So what I've really faced up to this morning, my whole childhood was either being in hell or waiting for more hell. That really is what it was. And it's a sense of liberation to be able to say that. Also a sense of shame and embarrassment, to be really honest. It's not an easy thing to admit to any of this. I got an absolutely don't want to make this film this morning, but it's like in rebirthing ourselves, it's so important to actually experience the worst, the darkest. And it was my entire childhood, but particularly babyhood. Because I learned that when I really need something, I get nothing. And so there's something I've been going through for some years, and I owned up to it to my partner yesterday, because the day before I had a tooth taken out. Now that tooth moved 18 months ago, but it was causing problems before in my mouth with the built-up of plaque and tartar, and trying to clean it, trying to get rid of this crap, and not being very successful. But when it shifted, it became much, much worse. And basically I spent like every day, all day, being bothered by this accumulating crap in my mouth at the back of that tooth. And when that was taken out 2 days ago, I just felt so liberated, so clean, such a relief. The shit is out. And that was a key thing for us when we looked at being a child. The curse, shamanic perspective, when parents utter things, these are curses. So the curses we were laden down with, worthless piece of shit. That's really what we learn. My father with glee would talk about punishments inflicted upon people in the military. When he was in the military, he made up this crime of dumb insolence. So when I shut down and he would accuse me of things, I would just shut down and I wouldn't answer. And that was like an extra crime, dumb insolence. And you talk about what was done to these young soldiers. They'd be literally tied to these wheels of these ancient cannons, and they'd be flogged, and he would talk about it with glee. He couldn't tie me to a cannon and flog me. The next best thing was to tell me about it with glee on his face and emotion and passion. And so didn't feel anything. So this is my therapy, is acknowledging to myself, acknowledging my feeling and my prevailing feeling of childhood. It wasn't frustration, it wasn't anger, it wasn't rage, it wasn't any of those dramatic things. It was a complete absence of feeling. It wasn't even disappointment, because I'd given up in the pram. I'd completely given up. And this is what I've really failed to feel all this time. So for me to give birth to myself, and I went to see a healer in Glastonbury only a few weeks ago, and I'm taking rose water, which I get rose petals, I put them into water, I bring them to the boil, I simmer them very gently for 5 minutes, take them off the heat, I strain the liquid and I drink it every day, twice a day. I get rose oil and I anoint my feet with the rose oil. I'm doing these as daily practices, plus a whole load of other practices I've been recommended. And this is all about opening up the heart, healing the heart. I'm healing my wounds by drinking marigold tea, calendula. Marigold is beautiful yellow orangey flowers. I drink that tea every day. This is all, I've been doing this for some weeks. This has prepared me to really get to grips with all this stuff. This is the eve of the solstice. The solstice is tomorrow morning. In the UK it's about 4:55 a.m, something like that, 4:53. And I'm going to celebrate that somehow, somewhere, on my own or with people. I don't know, I'm going to celebrate it because this is a miraculous time. I ask you to pay attention to the film which I mentioned in the description of this film, because I've put a comment on there which is all about the miraculous time that we've got at the moment. So giving birth to yourself, being a spiritual midwife to yourself, is about acknowledging what is the worst that happened, becoming aware of it, being conscious of it. If you can find someone to share with if you feel safe to do so, and feeling it, feeling the horror. That's it. There was a time in my life that my sister, who's no longer in the physical body, she sent me some photographs of myself as a child, and I was so angry with her for doing that, because what would I ever want to see photographs of myself as a child for? That's just revolting and disgusting. That's how I felt at that time. That was 20 years ago or more. So this is the gift of being a human being. Feel the stuff you're terrified to feel, because when it's reached the point you're in pain, most or a lot of all the time, physically, you've nothing to lose. That physical pain is only distracting you from what you don't want to feel. So you might as well just feel it anyway. So that's what I'm doing. I'm allowing myself to really be present to how numb and shut down I was as a child. And that is how I rebirth myself. And I was told by the healer that my partner's not even going to recognize me when I've been through this. So all the things I've been through, with my mother's dying and death and my father's dying and death 10 years before, it's all been about this part of my journey to prepare myself to give birth to myself. So I am actually incredibly excited and uplifted at the same time as I'm really feeling this shit, dude. So thank you very much for being with me. So that's my suggestion to you. If you're in any kind of severe pain, find out what the feelings are about that are being covered up by that physical pain, because that's how you get rid of the physical pain, and that's how you rebirth yourself. All the love to you.